Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's show. You know, we've got a special guest with us tonight. You know, worked over at the Wall, you know, legend in the game, Sian.
It's a massive intro, by the way.
Hey, listen,
Thanks.
you got it, man. Listen, you got it. I told you, man, I spoke to you, and I said to you, like, it's good. I think your knowledge and speaking to you about football is spot on, man.
Thanks.
It's not every day that you speak to people in general that have good knowledge of football, and you know, and able to speak the game. And I think you're a rarity.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on today, man. So obviously, tonight we're going to be talking about starting off with things about grassroots, so like parents in grassroots,
Yeah.
and academies, and how we feel that they can play a part in children's development and how they act around it. So obviously, I'll start with you, Sian. So what's your opinion on the parents within grassroots and academies football?
I think you can get like extremely supportive, fantastic, amazing parents that are like realistic and down to earth, and they're also helpful to you. And yeah, you can get the one side. Then you might get the middle ground of parents that are living through their kids. So like they might be an ex-pro, or they might have had that, oh, I could have been before that knee injury story. And then so now
Definitely.
so now you're like living your story through your children. And then I think you get then the right end, who you've just got like completely unrealistic, pushy parents that have got like opinions with no logic behind that opinion at all, or they feel like they should have a say in how this whole club is run, with no real experience of anything that you're doing. And unfortunately, there's probably more of the latter.
Yeah, I have to agree, man. Yeah, I have to agree, because obviously I've had experiences obviously within grassroots and obviously within the academy setting, and everything you said, you get the odd ones that are okay and they're kind of down to earth, and they just let their kids play freely, and you know, let the coaches develop them and whatever. And then you get the odd ones that are, well, sorry, not the odd ones, you get the majority that are very loud, very vocal, and they've got such a big opinion, and it's like they're coaching the kids on the sideline.
That's the one I can't. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah, but you're in a pro academy, so at pro level they just stand in one corner.
Not all the time. They stand behind the barrier.
Yeah, but they're still giving it.
They're still vocal, and like we've had to times speak to them and say like, let the coaches do the coaching, innit? And yeah. So I've had both sides of the fences. Like I've got a story about one parent that moaned at me, threatened me, because their son had an awful game, didn't want to run, didn't want to do anything. So I said to him, you can't do that, you need to move. It's like having a statue. And he called me up, oh, you can't do that. Why are you talking to my son like that? I'm like, well, I didn't swear at him, I wasn't aggressive, but I spoke about what he did wrong. No, not having it, and I'm like, but this is where the game goes wrong, because if I'm trying to coach him and now you're saying something totally different, it's pointless me saying anything.
But parents don't realise that what happens when you do that is that if you're a mom or a dad and you're giving your child information, and then the coach is giving the child information, that child is then living in fear because they don't know who they should listen to. So I've had kids say, oh, if I don't listen to my dad, I'm getting licks when I get home.
100%.
But then if I don't listen to my coach, I'm getting released.
Yeah.
So then what? So then without you realising it, you're putting your child in a situation where they're then having to choose between parents' advice and coaches' advice. And in pro academy circumstance, if you don't listen to your coach, that's your contract on the line.
100%.
Whereas if you don't listen to your parent, that's licks on the line.
Yeah.
So what can you do in that aspect?
They're in a catch-22.
I mean, I think I've seen, listen to me, I've got stories for days when it comes to parents, but I've had parents that from one extreme, they will like do a rota for the parents for running the line. Do you know what I mean? I think that stuff is helpful, because obviously when you don't have officials, let's say you don't have linos, then I think it's great that you've got one parent that will like do a little rota for the parent so that it's all fair and you don't have one dad that's always running the line. So I think that stuff I would welcome. But then I've also had, when I was at Millwall, I had a parent who had his own grassroots team that his daughter would play in, as well as his daughters were in the academy as well. So he had twin girls, and so there was twin girls and another girl that used to play for his grassroots team. Millwall had a cup final, and his grassroots team had a cup final. So he told us that his girls were unavailable for that cup final. So I then find out, because football is small, so I then find out that actually he had a grassroots final with his team and he took his girls out and another one of our girls out to play in the grassroots final. Later on, the England Pathway Scouts were down on that day. 2 of the girls from that age group got selected. So he comes into me Monday evening, oh, how come my girls didn't get a look in or they didn't get referred or recommended for England Pathway? Where were you on that Sunday? Oh, my team had a cup final. So in your logical mind, Millwall has a cup final and your grassroots team has a cup final. If I'm an England Pathway Scout, which game am I going to? And you thought, let me take my girls out to play what we would call Mickey Mouse football, basically, to go and play Mickey Mouse football over a Millwall Cup final when anybody could turn up. And now really, as academy director, I could release you for that. And it's not even the girl's fault. It's your dad's fault. So and that's the only reason why I didn't. Because the girls are now gonna lose their opportunity to go and play first team at Millwall because the dad's a donut, basically.
And this is what some parents do though, isn't it?
But another academy director might not make that decision.
Yeah, no, they just said to you later.
Do that at Chelsea.
Well, actually, funny enough, I've actually got a friend whose son's at Chelsea, and I'm not supporting parents or whatever, but they spend a lot of time at these academies, Monday to Friday, trips abroad. You know, there's a lot of expense, but actually knowing if your son or daughter is actually going to get to a level. So also as well, sitting on the fence, you know, parents also feel, well, if I'm spending so much time and money here, I'm sure I have a small say in terms of how things should be run for my boy or girl.
I think like it's you're warranted to say that. Do you know what I mean? Because they're right. They're putting in so much time and effort to taking your son up and down the country. If you're on a pro academy, you could be going Portsmouth, Coventry.
We've travelled, man.
Yeah, you've gone up and down the country. But I also think that if your son or daughter does go on to make it pro, all of that travelling becomes worth it. Exactly. But I also believe that, like, if you was in a job, let's say, where your job requires you to travel up and down everywhere, now, if it's a part of your job and you know what you signed up for, then you're going to hold it. I think when you put your son into a pro academy, you've kind of got to know what you're signing up for. You're signing up for travelling, you're signing up for all of these things. It's football. Yeah. And I think that you just need to, don't get me wrong, I think academy directors have got to do better to sit down with the parents, to let the parents truly know what it is that they're up for the rest of the season.
100%. We do that a lot. So obviously, being at Millwall, when we're signing the kids, it's explained to them that it's a big task. We obviously explain to the children, this is what we expect of you. You know, you're going to be training 3 days, playing a game. You know, you're going to be travelling, doing a lot of stuff. We expect you to be able to manage that. We know they're children, but at the same time, you want to be a footballer, this is what it's like. But then it's also explained to the parents at the same time, this is what's going to happen with your child, and this is where you guys need to have a real think about it as well. Like, are you able to commit to it? So people are not just throwing it at them and saying, right, here's your contract, and you're now playing for this club. It is also explaining to them that this is what's expected, not only from the children, but also as a parent. So, and it may be a little bit difficult for parents that are co-parenting, you know, that are separated. So, like, you know, one off, one on, one off. One. So that's quite difficult. But yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from. But it's not like, I don't know what it's like at other clubs, but I know at Millwall, we explain it highly to the parents, like, this is what it's going to be like, and stuff like that. And I think, and maybe that's why certain parents feel like they have a bigger say in what happens, and they become more vocal because they feel like we're doing all of this and this is what's happening. But at the same time, like what you just said, we just what you signed up for.
But I think even from a director's level, you've got to times all of your problems by like 10 or 15.
Yeah.
When you become like a senior leader in anywhere, you have to times every single problem that gets addressed to you by 10 or 15. So let's say if a parent comes to me with a request, potentially I've got 20 other parents coming to me with a request. I can't please everyone. Do you know what I mean? I've had parents talk to me about logos. Like, why is this the club logo? Do you think I've got time? Do you know what I mean? Or do you think your one say is going to make me now think, let me change the whole club logo? Do you know what I mean? Because of what you've suggested. Now, I would easily get, and like I said, I can only speak from an academy director's role. Do you know what I mean? So I've like, when I was at Millwall, I was overseeing 4 age groups. So now we're talking 20 players in each age group. And then if you let's say that they all had 2-parent households, which they don't, but on a maximum, you're now talking a minimum of 80 parents, at least. Do you know what I mean? That's a 1-parent household. If you've got families that are 2 or grandparents or whatever, now we're talking about 100 parents. I don't have the time or capacity to deal with 100 parents' requests. Some of them will come to me, they want bounce boards. Some of them will come to me about logos. Some of them think that the assistant's kit should be different to the first. It's like you've got too much stuff to say. So you can't, it's impossible. It's an impossible task to please every single parent. You're better off with like a parent liaison.
Well, that's what they have at Millwall. Like you get parent committees, isn't it? So we get 2 from each age group. So 2 in the 9s, 2 in the 10s and stuff like that. And they obviously, whatever the parents will discuss, they will come to the club and be like, right, we've discussed this. Is there any way we can do A, B, C, D and whatever? And then the club will look at it and go, right, okay, this one's like feasible, we can do that. Okay, this one's maybe not realistic, whatever, and stuff like that. So that kind of works quite well. I feel like now that, I'm not sure how long that's been introduced at Millwall, but I know that by the sounds of it, it seems to work quite well. The parents seem to be a lot more happier. You know, I remember a couple of seasons ago, there's a little bit of groans and stuff like that, but now it seems that having that in place kind of has played quite a good part in the parents, and they feel a bit more involved within the club. So
yeah, I think it gets rid of the parents' gossip club, basically, because you get a lot of the the gossiping.
100%, and they talk to other age groups and and you got other parents that and the thing is, it's such a small world. Like they all know each other from outside, so they all have like a strong opinion. And if some of them support the club, they feel like they have a stronger opinion because it's their club. So they feel like, oh, we have to have a bigger say. It's like,
especially if you're at grassroots, or like when I was at Mill, obviously, when I was in the girls section, they're a part of the trust. So you'll get parents that will sponsor and they'll put money in. If a parent puts 500 quid in, they want say. Do you know what I mean? They want say, and they want their child playing every minute of every game.
I can imagine.
So but you need the money. So it's like, do you say no to the £500 so that you now can't dictate to me what's going on, or do you accept the £500?
So saying that now leads on to my next bit of like, with parents like that, that feel like they have a stronger say. Do you feel that has a negative effect on their child's development?
Sometimes
within a grassroots setting, or within a academy, or within, like you just said, like the trust setting of the Millwall Lionesses or whatever. Do you feel like that can play a negative part in how the children develop?
It depends if the parent is realistic. You get some parents that are just like, look, like I'm putting in this money and I just want it to benefit the girls, and I've got no intentions of like pulling any strings. I'm just doing this out of the kindness of my heart. Those are anomalies, but most of the time they want some kind of give or take. So they would want that extra bit of time with you, the extra bit of time with the coach, or you do get like I know I had a consistent parent that used to sponsor like every year, and it was so hard to say no to the sponsorship because it was a decent amount of money. He would pay for trophies and stuff for like the end of year awards, and you know what I mean, you know, those key things that you need. But then when his daughter's underperforming, there's always a problem. yeah, but you know that she's the best in the team. And that whole best in the team stuff, I don't believe in it anyway. I just don't believe in the term. But that's just because I think you might be the best midfielder in the team, or you might be the best forward in the team, but you can't defend like this guy, or you can't. You're not going to go and goal, are you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't think you can say I'm the best in the team, but if I stick you in goal, you're going to let in 5, so you're not the best in the team. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's just got different attributes. So that whole but my daughter's the best in the team is nonsense to me. So your £1,000, let's say, doesn't guarantee your daughter 90 minutes. But how do you say no? It's Roger. How do how do you say no to it if you need the money or you need the sponsorship? I think you've got to have a sit down with the parent to say, listen, if you give this money, we just need you to know that it doesn't, your child's still going to get treated like everybody else's child. If they're underperforming or they're overperforming or whatever the situation is, they're not going to get kit any earlier. They're not, we can't give preferential treatment, but you got to let that down in a way where you still say, can we have the money, please?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I can imagine like in a grassroots stroke, like trust setting, it could be a lot harder because of what the parents put in and, and how much they invest into a club. So they feel like they have like a bigger say in what happens.
Yeah.
And I feel like, for me, that can slightly be a negative effect on the child, because then, not saying I've noticed it, but, when you feel like you're being badgered by someone, you then take it out of the next thing, which could be that child. Then they don't get the support that they should be getting from the coach, or they don't get certain, things that other people are getting, or it could go the other way where it's like you're giving them too much, and then the other children are missing out because it's like, I feel like I've got to do this because your parents are paying for this or your parents are doing that, so you're going to get the extras. Then the other children are getting left behind, and I feel that's where the negativity on the development can play a part, because then you're either getting too much, or then
you're getting too little.
Yeah, and that's where I feel it needs to be. I say dealt better, but it's harder because, like we said, a lot of these grassroots clubs need the support of parents and stuff like that, and sponsors play a big part. And majority of the time, parents work for companies that are their own, so they're investing in their own company's money, and then that's why they feel like they have a bigger say. So that's where I feel like, for me, that maybe the FA need to do a lot more in helping these grassroots clubs, so then the parents don't have to step in. It doesn't affect the development of the children. That's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point, actually, because at the end of the day, if the football clubs were financially supported better, parents wouldn't have to do this.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from. I'm sure there's not enough money to go around to everyone, but I do think that if there are people that can invest in, like, or just give to like a local grassroots club, you'd be surprised like how far that will go, and then it will mean that I would rather get external sponsors than have parents paying.
100%.
Because
that will help.
Yeah, you can't like. Yeah, it's too much of a thin line basically for you to try and manage like the parents' expectations, and there's also this like. Sometimes this feeling of like, we can't let that kid go now because their dad pumps $2,000 every year in, and they could be arse. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That kid could be so bad.
But it's true.
And you can't, like, there's nothing that you can do now because the dad or the mum is pumping like dough into the club, and you're thinking, you can't really. Do you know what I mean?
Because then you're also thinking, if that goes, where are we getting that from?
Yeah.
Does that now get replaced?
But also as well, correct me if I'm wrong, the shoe could be on the other foot. You might have a child that's amazing in their own position where you think, I can't let this boy or girl go, and the parents are paying whatever to the club. So that's one aspect of it. And I'm not going to say this is controversial, but I think it's something that we have to talk about. Pros that have made it, that have come from certain grassroots and academies, why aren't they supporting grassroots, and literally, you know, 10, 15,000 pound, which is, let's be honest,
nothing.
Yeah, to them,
you
it's
know,
nothing,
to
yeah.
them. Why are parents
Having to put in?
I'm saying, and literally, a lot of people are living hand to mouth.
Yeah.
I think one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if anyone else has, is that what you'll notice is that a lot of them don't put back into where they came from. They start their own.
That's true.
They start their own. So what happens is,
That's true.
So the money that they could pump into a club where they started off at, they could have been there for a year, 2 years before they got picked up by a pro club. But you started there. That's where you got seen. Like you just said, paying a couple of £1,000 into that club could make a big difference. But what they do is, to get around it, is they create their own environment. So they turn around and say, right, this is going to be called whatever academy. Now, you've now created your own little grassroots setting,
and you haven't given back to the ones that helped you.
Exactly.
So what they've done is people look at it and go, oh my God, they're doing so well for the community. Yes, you are in a way, because you're getting said children into your club, but at the same time, the other people that need it ain't getting it. So
It's kind of like Wilfred's done both.
Well, yeah, exactly, because he's created his own,
and then he's put into
Croydon.
Croydon.
Now he's involved in AFC Croydon, which makes a big difference and whatever. But yeah, if we speak about that, like he's obviously created his own. I've worked at his academy, you know what I mean? And don't get wrong, look, he's been there. He spends a lot of time there, and he pops in whenever he can, and the kids love it. And I've actually had a chat with him, and his feedback to me was, and I was just like, you know what, I can see why you're doing this. But then on the flip side, now we have this conversation, and this is not at him, but I'm just talking about other people where they go, I'm gonna make my own, because I'm not gonna give back to them. Do you know what I mean? Because then it looks like I'm doing, in hindsight, I look like I'm doing well, but in a way, I'm just kind of creating a different environment for these children to thrive. But at the same time, I could have just give it back to, you know, something.
But a lot of the time, the ones that they're creating themselves, the kids are still being charged for it.
Yeah, 100%. Of course.
So,
yeah. So you're paying for the staff to be there, not necessarily for the children to do it. So yeah, so it's a catch-22, isn't it? But you're right, 100. I totally agree. They should be giving the pros, or not saying all pros, but if they want to, they could help out. But you know, what can we do, man?
Wow. It's. I mean, again, I've got to applaud you two, because you know, like you guys know, like the little bits, as in like the things deep down, where people like myself can just only see on certain like surface level. Why are staff like this? Why are directors like this? Why are kind of coaches like this? It's a lot more intricate. It's I think there should be like a round table of obviously most of the, I'd say like the Cat 1 clubs, to sit down at a round table and say what's, you know, what we need, what we don't need, and you know, can we work as a collective to actually make our boys and girls pro footballers, because that's the end goal, right? Like we don't care if a kind of boy starts off at Arsenal but then gets in at Chelsea as a pro. Arsenal have still had their say in that boy going pro. That's the be all and end all goal, right?
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. The aim is to make the young boy, the young girl, a pro footballer. So obviously, if you play a part in that child's development, it's rewarding, especially in my eyes. Like if I'm able to play a part in a child's development and they go on to become a pro, or they go into like a bigger club, for me, I'm just like, you know what, I help that. Do you get what I mean? And that's how I look at things. But
see, do you know what? Maybe it's because I've done all the roles now. So it's like I've done the you're just picking up the cones, and I've done the week in, week out coaching, and now I'm in the academy director job, and I've kind of done through the ranks basically. And now when I'm running academies, I'm not thinking about turning these footballers into pros. Maybe it's controversial, but that's not my plan. My plan is to give them the best experience that they've had. That's what I want to do. Like when I was at Millwall, I sit down with the parents and the kids, I'm saying, listen, I'm not, my job is actually not, I'm not trying to get you lot to be pros, because 1% of you are going to do it. Do you know what I mean? So really, take out the 1% of you that are going to do it. The rest of you, I just want you to be able to leave Millwall when you get to 25, to be able to say, you know, when I was at Millwall, it was sick. When Sean was running it, it was sick. Do you know what I mean? Like while I was there, I had a sick time. I had this, we got to see this, we got to experience this. As long as your experience is priceless, I think my job's done.
100%.
I'm not trying to turn you into pros is just a bonus.
Because
the journey's long,
The journey's long.
And you probably won't do it.
Yeah. I remember.
Unfortunately.
Some kids stay, or some kids stay at clubs till 18, 20 something, and it don't amount to nothing. So, you know, it's like you just said. I think the journey.
And sometimes it's a bit of luck.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's being seen at the right time, in the right place, playing the right game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of luck. I'm sure you would have seen it many. I know I have, where like, I've had brilliant, outstanding players, but the day that scout comes down, they get a red.
Nothing happens. Yeah.
So then now the one window that you had
is now gone.
Yeah. And you know scouts, they're there 20 minutes max.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if in that window you don't do the right stuff, they'll be off.
Yeah.
And you don't even realise that was your window.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
And that's it. And sometimes they don't bother coming back. You know what I mean? It's like,
Or there's people that I'm sure you would have known that have made it. You think, how the hell did he get his pro over my man?
Yeah, I scratch my head like this sometimes, but you know, that's the game. The game's the game, man.
We would probably all look at Hubs and think, how did Hubs not go pro?
I mean, we know why.
Why is it?
Temperament.
Well,
mine was a confidence thing. I didn't. See, obviously,
You needed me.
100%. I had it for a certain amount of years, but then obviously, when I left that environment, I didn't have it. I was on my own. I think I've said before, like, my dad went into football. My mum didn't know how to do it, so I didn't have no backing. So I was just always like, what do I do?
yeah.
And then when things weren't going my way, the first thing I thought was, I'm not good enough. So then I just automatically just crumbled, and then it was like, I never looked at my ability being like the negativity about it. It was always like, okay, maybe I'm not where I should be or whatever, and then the confidence has dropped, and I just couldn't get my confidence back up, and then that's what really affected me a lot, because, you know, I'd just be like going in my shell and stuff like that, and then that's what affected me. I never had someone at home to put an arm around me that can just be like, oh, you know, don't worry, man, it'll be all right. Where I'd go home, and then my mum would be like, oh, she didn't know how to approach it, so she didn't really say nothing. My dad just didn't care, because my dad went into it. My dad didn't think.
Do you know what the parental support is like? It's unnoticed. We had a trial at the beginning of the season, and in the middle of the trial, I had a mum pull her little boy out in the middle of the trial, and I'm thinking, at this point, like, what's going on here? She's pulled him out, took him to the side, absolutely rinsed him in like Lingala or something.
Yeah.
So she's rinsed him. He's in tears.
That's mad.
Sends him back on the pitch now. Because it was like, I know that the mum's Congolese. I think it was a mix. She was mixed. She was coming in and out of English and Lingala basically. So she's like flicking between the two. There's a lot of cussing, and then it was like a lot of come-ons and a lot of cussings, and then come-ons, and she's in and out. Anyway, I think she was talking to him about his effort in the middle of a trial. What do you now think that young boy is going to do? Do you know what I mean? Now that you've just made him cry in the middle of the trial and you've come on. But then, like, that for me is like negative, counterproductive support, basically. But then I've had personally, cup final, Crystal Palace. It's my first ever cup final. I'm like 20 or something, or I'm young, I'm like a teenager. Half time, I'm in tears. My dad puts his hand around my face and he's like, Sean, calm down. Do you know what I mean? That you'll be fine. The first 50 minutes, do the basic stuff, make the right passes, get your first touch right, just do the simple stuff, and the rest of the game will open up. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Wiping my tears, and we won the game. I had a blinder in that second half. So if it wasn't for my dad at that half time, what would I have done? So I've probably got the opposite in terms of like, my dad was great.
Didn't have that, man. I had a stinker. I remember one time I had a stinker. I was walking off doing Salt Hogan's and that, and then randomly...
Salt Hogan's.
Listen.
We have to tag that, you know.
Salt Hogan.
Salt Hogan's, guys. But listen, I'm walking off the pitch now, and like, I'm in my mind. I'm just thinking, randomly, he just pulls up beside me. I'm like, what's this guy doing here? And he's just like, hey, you come with me? Not, oh, you know, don't worry about it. Hey, you come with me? I'm like, no, I'm going to go back on the minibus because I need to get my stuff. All right, cool. See you at home. Drove off. I was like, rah. So you was here the whole time, didn't tell me you was here. You can already see that I'm upset. All you've asked me is, are you coming home with me? I said no. So you said, okay, go drive off. Just drove off, left me.
Crazy.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that I knew, he already knew I didn't have a good game.
Yeah.
Like the car, you know, didn't say come to the car, console me or anything like that. Okay, cool. Just drove off. I was like, rah. So I just sat on the minibus. I was like, in awe, like, rah.
What am I supposed to do? Yeah.
How do I deal with that? And then when I got home, I was thinking, okay, you watch the game, maybe I'll get some feedback. Nah,
Nothing.
Man was just laying on his bed, just didn't say nothing to me.
Yeah, he's probably not going to realise the detriment of that, innit?
Yeah, you just walk in. Yeah, this is it. So you just like, cheers. Yeah. So yeah, that's I mean, and that's why I think like that's why I asked the question like the negativity side of things, because I've had it on the flip side of I had no support. So that was very negative towards me, where sometimes you can have too much support and that becomes negative because your expectations of yourself now becomes too high, because you're like, I have to meet the standards of what my parents want.
Yeah, you're wrapped up in cotton wool.
There you go, and it's like I have to do well, and then that affects your game. And I think that's where that can affect these poor kids in, you know, the grassroots level of football as well. Because I think as well, especially in grassroots, before we move on, I don't know if like, you agree or anything like that, but especially in grassroots, if you're doing well or you're a decent player, you should be seen as the best person. Like, you should be smashing no matter what, week in, week out. And that's what in your mind, that's what your parents are going to be portraying to you. So you now got the pressure on yourself, and I've got to walk out every week and be the better player because my dad's watching or my mum's watching. I'm under pressure. But you just want to play football and enjoy it.
I think like if the parents can find a balance basically between, let's say, like what success really looks like. So I think as a kid, my advice to the kids is like, just get as much playing time as you can. Just get as much playing time as you can, because you'll be playing football for less time than you will, basically. So just get as much playing time as you can. So I've had like 16-year-old goalkeeper, let's say, absolutely flying, like way ahead of her years, gets her first team call up, and on the bench. Do you know what I mean? Gets her first team call up. So now she's in and around it. She then gets in and around it often. Do you know what I mean? So now she's training with the first team. First team goalkeeper gets injured. She gets her first opportunity, does okay. Do you know what I mean? But then you're now like the little fish now. You're not the big fish anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because you're at first team level. So you're kind of like in and out. And then when you're not playing, let's say that goalkeeper's not playing, they might get a call from me to say, come back down to the 18s to come and play. The parents are telling me no. What do you mean no? Oh, so, well, at the end of the day, she's a first team player now. So she's not playing first team, she's not playing at all. So let her stand there with her cold hands then and not play at all. When really and truly, if she's not playing with the first team, get her to come and play with the 18s so that she can play. Do you know what I mean? But instead, you would rather, just for the sake of saying my daughter plays in the first team, you would rather her not play, sit on the bench cold. And it's a goalkeeper. We're not talking about left back, midfielder. Really and truly, the chances of you coming on as a goalkeeper is slim to none. So you're better off going and playing with the 18s. And the thing is that I don't even know if I still don't know to this day whether the actual girl agreed with the decision, or whether it's her parents that are just like, no, she's a first team player now.
I think sometimes,
and that's what she's going to say.
I think sometimes parents don't converse with their children to give that choice. They just make it for their children.
Maybe they just don't feel like their children are old enough or mature enough to make that decision. But
so I love my parents to bits, but I still have a conversation with my mum to this day. And one of her biggest regrets is not following me to football. So I kind of grew up with Aaron Lennon, Anthony Lennon, Gareth Grant, like the mighty twins that played for Wolves. So literally there was a strong hub in like Leeds, West Yorkshire, that they were just producing players. You know, Alan Smith as well. And I was playing for a team called Farsley Celtic that was literally like one of the best grassroots teams.
I've heard of them.
Where literally scouts would always come and just kind of pick up players. And my dad, honestly, like I love my dad, but again, it was just all about education. It was just education. Like that was your way out, or literally that's where people will respect you the most. And being the oldest, like that was my kind of role to show my brother, especially, like education was the key. And we used to have like coaches come to our house. Two for me, but more for my brother. My brother was an amazing centre back. This is literally this is like amazing. And like my parents were like, no, it's just not happening. And like my brother just kind of accepted it. He was like, okay, cool. You know, but literally I was kind of always trying to get out, trying to kind of find like the next bus that I can catch or try and catch like a lift with a mate of mine. But after a while, you can't do that Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays every single time because I was like young at the time.
It's a lot, yeah.
But no, I mean, like I've seen like a lot of parents at like games and have I been envious? I mean, probably at the time, yes. But I kind of know why my parents didn't really understand. You have to dedicate yourself to football because if you don't do it, then someone else will, and someone else is going to take your spot.
100%.
I think that's hard, because I know a lot of, and unfortunately it is a lot of like young black kids where their parents are very big on education. Rightfully so in terms of like they're encouraging their education, but I also do know a lot of kids who are really good at football and I don't even think their parents actually know how good they are. They don't actually know. And I think it's because like they're very pushy on like they're so pushy on the education that they've got no idea how talented their kid actually is. So like the amount of like young boys or girls that are getting in with someone else's mum in the car, someone else's dad in the car, taking 2 buses or whatever, doing whatever it is that they have to do to get to football. And sometimes I do think to myself, if only your mum or dad actually knew how good you really were. If they did know, they probably would come or they would take you to training or they would or whatever. Or even, like I'd probably say culturally, we're quite hardworking, do you know what I mean, in the culture. So it's like, I'm not saying anyone else isn't hardworking, but like we are very hardworking. And I think that living in London as well doesn't necessarily allow you to support your child's extracurricular stuff. Because like, if I really look, I was quite blessed that my dad was taking me to football because really my mum was working 2 jobs, my dad was working 2 jobs. So I have to kind of credit my dad for finding the time. He would, whatever it is he needed to move, do you know what I mean, he would do to make sure that my dad didn't miss a training or a match up until I was 21. So it was like all the way from the age of 11. So I have to give that to him. And they were still working 2 jobs and so is my mum. A lot of these families are working jobs in the daytime, working jobs in the nighttime, working jobs in the evening, whatever that might be. And then they just genuinely don't know how good their kids
I think that
actually are.
That was good, Mr. Law. I think that does happen a lot. Parents don't. Some parents, they don't realise how good their kids are, and they just, like you said, I think they just focus on other things, and then that child then misses the opportunity of what they could possibly have. And it's very difficult. Did you want to ask anything, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few things to ask. I mean, so we've had a conversation before, and I don't know if you remember, you said that you would never manage a ladies' team.
Yeah, well, I ate those words. I ate those words.
So
I did.
So what was the reason, for that kind of, change?
If you want me to be honest, and this is me being honest, that was money. That was money. So the decision literally was, I was at Millwall as academy director. I was doing 2 nights a week and a match day, basically. And I was doing their club secretary role. So I was doing their first team, Millwall Lionesses club sec role. And I had the admin for 6 teams and overseeing 4 academy teams. So I had to do all of that for the same amount of money that Dulwich Hamlet were offering me for 1 night a week and a match day and no admin. It was a no-brainer. In terms of my time, getting my time back, less responsibility, same amount of money and closer to my house.
Yeah, it made sense.
This was a no-brainer. But then when I actually started to do it, I realised that I wasn't coaching at Millwall, I was overseeing. So it was nice to be back on the grass. So that's how I ended up coaching Dulwich Hamlet Reserves. And then I loved it. So it was like, this is sick, I'm back on the grass, I'm delivering sessions again. It's like, it was a reminder that like, it's nice to go back to being back on the grass, do you know what I mean? And just delivering, developing players, week in, week out, going back to match day. So yeah, so I took the women's job. And don't get me wrong, I didn't actually apply for the job. They came in to me. Yeah, they approached me and I was a bit like, I don't really want to manage women, blah, 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 but I did. And it was good. And it was a sick experience because Dulwich Hamlet's a sick club.
Yeah, they're on the rise, man. They're doing well. Yeah, no, I played there as well, so. Yeah,
Wait, if I'm being honest, yeah, it was money and time, basically. It's money and time.
Though, man. I guess like that, you gotta weigh up our options, innit? And I think
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, money plays a big part in that. Plays a very big part. You know, like I can only speak on my personal experiences that if I'm going into something, sometimes your time is very special to you. So I know it sounds a bit weird, but money has to be able to match that in a way, because then it has to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to give up this time, then money has to be worth it. And you know, some people tell me, I say, "Oh, it's always money driven." Sometimes it has to be.
I got a child, yeah. So
you know, what I mean, we've got lives, man. Like house bills, all that stuff. Like, if I'm not going to be at home, I've got to live or do stuff within myself. Like, I've got to be able to earn something out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and again, you know, with like your coaching, because again, you know, I've like known you from like that kind of online scene, and it's I think for me, I would like love to get your opinion on the new coaches now that are kind of coming through that are using social media, using kind of tactics and from what they've seen on like television. You know, what's like your opinion about that?
I don't think there's anything that can teach you more than the grass, basically. So it's like you can even do coaching badges. You can have them coming out of your backside. You can watch as much match of the day as you like. You can even then, like, watching games on TV is crap. Until you start watching games on an eye test, it's a whole different ball game, because you don't see things the way that you see them on Match of the Day. They've got drones and cameras and you don't even see the full pitch. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you actually go to watch games properly live, it's like what you see is completely different. When I went to Paris last year, I went to watch PSG, and watching Messi live and watching Mbappe live is a whole different experience to when you see them on TV. It's a whole different thing. Now that I've seen them live, let's say, Mbappe, when he doesn't have the ball, does nothing, stays in one position and expects the ball to his feet and he's going to run. He does nothing. Messi now looks like he doesn't do anything off the ball, but he does. He picks up very clever spaces. So this is why Messi arguably will be the best footballer ever, because the amount of the stuff that you don't see on camera, you only see Messi and Mbappe when they're on the ball on TV. On TV. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to see them anywhere else. So to answer your question, basically, I think that on the grass will teach you more than any social media or like online can teach you, because you might be planning a session on your digital platform online, let's say, but like unless you get an opportunity to deliver that, and then you will see that pass that you thought you could make or you're trying to coach to make online, let's say, when you've got players looking you in your face saying, I can't see it though, Sian. Or actually you're telling me to defend 1v1 on this board, on this digital platform, but come and stand in this session with me and tell me if I can do it. It's a whole different, obviously, because I've coached Hubs will know that the kind of information that I'm giving is live. I've seen this here, and now we're going to reenact this and I'm going to problem solve for you. I don't have no fancy stat pad, do you know what I mean, that's going to do this fancy stuff. It's all things that I've physically seen. So I think that unless you've spent hours and hours and hours and hours on the grass, it's never going to compare to moving some magnets around on the board and saying do this and do that, because this is what I've seen United not do. Do you know what I mean? It's a whole different.
No, I get that.
If there's anything that like I know that I can say that no one can take away from me, I've spent hours on the grass. I don't care about the badges, the qualifications, the this, the that and the other. I've been on the grass. I've coached under 9s, under 10s, under 13s, under 13 girls, under 13 boys, under 18 girls, under 18 boys, women, men. I've done it all. I think the only thing I haven't done is SEN and disabled kids, probably. But I've done everything. Walking football. I've done it, or I've done a goalkeeping course. I've done it. I've seen it now. So it's like unless you've spent hours and hours on the grass, you can't chat to me about what's going on online. Football's not played online, is it?
No, it's not. And I agree, because obviously being in a coaching environment now, what you plan or what you want to do within the session, you have to be sure that your players can do that. So it's all well and good, like you just said, putting it on a paper or putting it into a board, like an iPad or whatever. But when you get onto the grass, exactly what Shanda said, if you're seeing it a certain way, but the players are like, "No, I just can't do it," or "this ain't going to happen," it's pointless. You've got to be able to be there to physically be able to adjust it or get them to experience it so it works. So being at Kent now, I've experienced it a lot more. So like when I do my sessions, I try and ensure that I'm there or I'm able to adjust it so it's realistic, not, social media that's going to get likes and, people interacting with it. I need to get the best out of these players, so I have to ensure that it's adaptable for them. And I think that's interesting, man.
I think even seeing things on the side, if you look at the view on the side, but like, that's a match day view. When you're training, let's say, like I know whenever I'm delivering training, I stand with the players. I don't stand on the side, because then I need to be able to see what they can see. So if I'm delivering a session of playing out from the back, let's say, I'm standing when the goalkeeper's standing, or I'm standing next to the centre back and I'm coaching it from there. Because I need to be able to see what they can see. I might be saying to you, oh yeah, well, let's play into R8, let's say. But what if they're 4 or whatever, or they're whoever basically is blocking the passing lane?
Yeah.
And I'm telling them, yeah, but play into the 8, play into the 8.
How do you adapt it?
Okay, but the player's blocking his passing lane, so now what?
Yeah, what do I do now?
What do you do now? And it's because you're not actually visualising to see what that player can see that you're coaching. Until you're in and around it on the grass, you can listen, you can go and watch YouTube what you like, but...
Yeah, you can see you're blue in the face. You have to be within it.
Yeah, you need to be in
I
it.
think playing as well, I think playing helps. Being a player or having played helps you be able to see certain things as well. So like, I feel like my playing experiences has helped me coaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think playing definitely helps.
That's helped me a lot. So like, I never played at the back. So when I'm coaching defensively, I'm kind of going off of what I've seen within games and what we can adjust. But if I'm talking about the midfield or an attacking area, I'm talking for personal experiences. So I'm able to coach that a little bit better because I've played in them positions. I've been able to deliver them passes, or I've made them runs myself. I've scored goals from these sort of positions. So when I'm telling you, it's not because I've seen it. I've actually did it.
I think even mentally, like, I'd finished the back end of my career as a left back. So, like, I try to encourage my defenders, let's say, that, like, even mentally, as a left back, anyone that's ever played with me can vouch for me that, like, I was one of those players where, like, I took pride in not getting past me or not beating me. Do you know what I mean? I took pride in that. So I think mentally, I would happily size myself up on a 1v1. Come then, let's go for it, because you're not beating me. And if you do beat me, we're not doing this again. Do you know what I mean? So it's like mentally, even preparing players, but that's playing experience. That's not coaching experience. I'm not saying that every coach has to have played.
No, I don't. That's what I mean. I don't say that. I just say for me as with now going into my coaching journey, I find having played has helped me a lot more and gained a lot more confidence in the coaching aspects because I've played and I'm able to give across the information because I've been in them experiences. I'm able to pass it on, and people. I'm quite lucky that people recognise me through playing. So when I'm giving that information, it's not like, oh, who's this guy? It's like,
it's our hubs.
You know what? Chris has played, so Chris knows.
Yeah.
We keep people kind of take it on, or I'm not saying they believe what I say, but they look and go, okay, you know what? Because he's played, we kind of get where he's coming from. So we kind of want to try it, and then if it doesn't happen, we have a conversation. But I guess being played, and yourself having played, it helps get information across, then people kind of take it on a bit better. So that always
helps with demos too.
100%.
Yeah, if you haven't played, don't do a demo.
It's pointless.
but also as well, we have to be real. Like, there's a digital footprint that people will look at and think, okay, so Hubs or Sean, let me kind of look them up on now it's Instagram, innit? Or TikTok. It's like not even on Google or LinkedIn. It's, people want some sort of, not like reassurance, but some sort of showreel in terms of, okay, do you know what you know?
Yeah.
Like, what's your library of work?
Yeah.
And again, like, it's the same with you. Like, what is your library of work? And again, I'd love to know, because one of the episodes I saw when you was coaching with Lass, and you said this is when you were playing SC Dons, and you're like, I had the opportunity to coach SC Dons, but I turned it down.
No, I had the opportunity to coach Lambeth.
Oh, was it?
And I turned it down. I was at the wall.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. Apologies. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get it right,
Sorry. Get it right. Sorry. Yes.
That's all right.
Yes. Sorry. It was at the wall.
I had the opportunity to coach them.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was at the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you turn down Lambeth?
I turned down Lambeth because Lambeth didn't need me, I don't think. They wanted me. They didn't need me. So it was more like they just weren't ready to be coached, basically. They weren't really prepared to take the information on. So they had a lot of very, very highly talented players that didn't see the value in coaching. Like, they just didn't see the value of being coached. They were smart players, good players, and they weren't, as soon as they got on the white line, they wanted to problem solve themselves. They didn't really want to be coached. So it was maybe like 2 games in of me trying to help them out, and I was thinking, you lot you don't actually really require me to be here, because I can give you all of the information in the world, but in your mind, you're going to step over that white line and do what you feel like you need to do anyway. So I don't actually serve a purpose here. Whereas when I went over to the wall now, I'm giving key information and they're absorbing it, taking it on, and I'm seeing it work. So I can see a purpose here. I think my first maybe like coaching success, let's say at the wall, was getting Jay to score.
Yeah, I agree.
Jay was a midfielder who would go from box to box, carry the ball all the way into basically inside the penalty area, you might as well say, and not shoot. You've done all of this hard work and not shoot. Yeah. So one of my first projects, let's say, was to try and get Jay into a goal scoring midfielder. That maybe took 3 games. Do you know what I mean? 3 to 4 games, and Jay had scored his first goal as a midfielder. To me, success. Now I hold value here. Do you know what I mean? Whereas at Lambeth, it's going through one there and at the other. So that was more my reasoning for leaving Lambeth. It was more like we think Sian would be good, but in theory and in practical, when I actually got there, they weren't taking on any of the information. So I'm not turning up here just to give you all my brain cells for them not to be actually used or valued. That's no disrespect to Lambeth, but
yeah, because they're quality.
They had quality players.
And one of the more they didn't see. I think the difference at the wall as well was that we had players that either were playing at a level or wasn't playing Saturdays. Do you know what I mean? So they wasn't getting that coaching aspect. So the luck that we had was we had obviously Sace, Leon, we had obviously, and then luckily Sian joined us, and we had players that maybe weren't getting the coaching away from the wall, was now so that made your job a little bit easier, because you was actually getting people that were looking, going, okay, cool, what do I need to do? And we weren't afraid to ask questions. So that helped a lot. I played, listening to Sian explain and having Sace as well, who's got great experience and everything like that. Like having them guys on the sideline and feeding you information, it made the game easier. Do you get what I mean? Because you can problem solve on your own, but from the sideline, especially now being on the sideline a lot more, you actually see a different picture to what you might see on the pitch. So I might see something on the pitch, but Sian and that might see it slightly different. It's like, no, can you do this, or can you go here? And you're like, oh, okay. And when you actually do, you're like, oh yeah,
this makes sense. Yeah,
I need to be here.
The wall felt like a jigsaw puzzle in terms of Sace had crazy amounts of experience and he's been in the game for so long. Leon, same, he'd been in and around it for so long, but Leon was also good at just noticing things at key moments. And then I think mine was more like the tactical side that was missing, basically. So whereas I just didn't feel like there was a need at Lambeth. It was more like we'd like her, but the wall, it was like, this is a need.
Yeah. We had that. The thing is, and we did need that.
Yeah.
We actually needed it. And it showed in the success that we created. Like, you know, from where we went to where we were, we needed it. You know what I mean? So like that was, I think you three together was like a very good combination. It just helped massively. People were telling me, why is there three of them?
Trust me,
from the outside,
it was key.
But this is what I said. That people were going, why you got three of them? I'm like, you don't understand how well they work together. It makes a big difference having three of them.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
it makes a big difference. And people were like, no, I'm not sure. I'm like, bro, unless you're in it.
And it was nice for me to have what felt like two like big brothers. Do you know what I mean? Like having two like men that were like shoulder to shoulder with me. Like I didn't come out at one game at the wall and didn't feel like I was protected in that environment. Do you know what I mean?
You felt part of it as well.
100%.
One thing I noticed, especially as a player, the moment Sian came in, she felt part of it. We made her feel part of it straight away as players. Can't speak on like saying that you already said they did, but as players, we were like, nah, we already know. Let's soak up what we can soak up from this, and just utilize what Sian's gonna bring us, because you can see that she has great knowledge in that already. So we appreciate everything that she had. And when the time came when you were leaving, that was like one of the biggest like daggers to the heart. But football happens, man. You know what I mean? But, it happens. But that leads on to my next thing. Like, how do you find? Obviously, you've been in women's football and all that. Like men's football, being a female within the men's game. How did you find being around it? You know, like you said, because some people, not everybody's like, some players have egos, you know, and like you said, like you speak to some people, it goes in one in and out the other. How did you find being a female in that environment with a lot of men that have played the game or, you know, been around? How did you take it so well in your stride?
I've probably made it look better than what it actually is in reality. But there's a few things. Ego is something you got to deal with anyway. Do you know what I mean? Regardless, women have egos, men have egos. You got to deal with that regardless. There's definitely like highs and lows to it. If I'm being honest with you, I get away with murder. That's the truth. I think if a man said some of the stuff to men that I probably get away with, I think I probably get away with it because I'm a woman. Do you know what I mean? There are players that have played for me that I've called spineless. I've said everything to them. If a man says that to them, that's an issue. Yeah, so I probably am getting away with murder by saying some of the stuff. Maybe my ego will tell me it's because they respect me. Maybe it's because I'm a woman and they don't want to box me how they'd box a man. But I do think that I'm getting away with murder, one. But I think that if there's anything that I've learned from going into men's environment, is just don't talk rubbish. Because if you do, a man will find you out immediately. Do you know what I mean? So you cannot go in, if you're going to go into a men's environment, even if deep down, like, I'm like crying on the inside, or I don't feel confident, or I feel nervous, or whatever it may be, I have to present confident because men will find you out. So I have to go in and just tell myself it's showtime. Do you know what I mean? Regardless of whatever you're feeling on the inside, it's showtime. So I think you have to kind of fake it till you make it a bit if you're going to be in the men's environment. Then there's a lot of stuff. There's like dynamics in terms of like house rules. Do you know what I mean? Like not in the women's environment in Dulwich, I can come in and out that changing room freely. Do you know what I mean? In the men's environment, as you would know, I don't.
No, you did.
I don't. I go in at the beginning of, I might chill in there a bit, come out, half time, come out. As soon as I hear one shower, I'm out.
I did notice that.
Yeah, I do not stick around when it comes to men's changing rooms because it's not, we're here professionally and men like will open that door if you give them the opportunity to do that. Do you know what I mean? So as a woman, I've like, you guys will know, I always knock the door. I always make the joke. Is anyone naked? Am I going to say anything mad? Do you know what I mean? And they'll all, most of the time, respectfully, they'll say no. But I've had men that'll be like, oh, Sian, you probably seen it all, big, small, da-da-da, just come in, doesn't matter. I'm sure you ain't nothing you ain't seen before. Okay, guys, but seriously, I'm not trying to see yours. So if you could just let me know if you're naked or not, please. Do you know what I mean? Before I come in. And men don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been in men's environments where like they'll just take off their clothes. Do you know what I mean? You'll just see bum out of nowhere. Like, they'll just take their clothes, start to get in the shower. At that point, as a woman, you've got a decision to make. Do you know what I mean? Either to come in or come out, basically. Now, if you choose to stay in, that's how rumours start. That's how the rumour mill begins. And, oh, yeah, she was sticking around. And do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of, like, stuff that doesn't really get spoken about that you have to manoeuvre through. In terms of the delivery and the information, the game's the game. Do you know what I mean? The only difference is that maybe the women's game is a bit slower, let's say. And I think women are easier to coach and harder to manage. And men are harder to coach, easier to manage. Yeah. I think men, you guys will like fight in the changing room and like 20 minutes after you're good and you're fine. You can kind of manage yourselves, but you're more likely to question what I might say from a coaching perspective. Yeah. Whereas women will soak and absorb. Yeah. They won't question a word that you've got to say in terms of the coaching. They'll take everything you're saying, but this person's chatting to this one's girl. This person has an argument with them on a night out and now they're not talking. Do you know what I mean? They had an argument 2 weeks ago and they're still not chatting, so now they won't pass to each other on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Women and their emotions are complicated, so they're way harder.
Gets in the way.
And they will allow it to get in the way because they can't get past however it is that they're feeling about something. Whereas men are kind of like, I might just punch you in the face after in the shower and then 15 minutes later you'll be like, you've got your kind of like testosterone out.
Not much emotions attached to that part. Do you think with the information side of things is because some players feel like they know it, so when you're trying to deliver the information they're just like, I know that already.
Yeah.
It's not that your delivery is not good, it's just that everything you're saying is right, but then they're just sitting there going, it's just I already know this. So
but this is why I think the way I feel about the get in the way of murder stuff, because like you already know I'm quite a straight talker when it comes to coaching, so it's like if you're telling me that you know it, let's say, the question I'm going to ask you is, so then do it.
Yeah, why is it not being
or why are you not doing it? Do you know what I mean? If you know it, but you're not doing it, it doesn't make sense to me.
But then is that but I've noticed as well, but like, people act like they know it, but it don't happen, and you're like, so you clearly don't know it. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, a wise man once told me that players are stupid, and the sooner that you realise that, the easier your coaching journey gets. Do you know what I mean? Just understand that players are stupid, and that they can't take on more than 2 bits of information at once.
I totally agree.
And you know, I can't remember what like episode it was, but I think it was a cup game, and like, the Wall were not performing, and like Sace talks, cool, Leon talked, and then when it came to you, you literally got out like a board and said, you're not doing this, and you did and literally you showed on the board what certain players were not doing, and you was very straight with it. Like there was no bullshit. It's like, trying to tell you why you're not doing your like job, because you're letting the opposition do this, and you'd show them, and like it was just silence.
I think it was the Hatch Lane game.
I think it was,
It was a cup game, right? It was,
yeah, I think that might have been the last dance game.
I think it might have been.
I remember.
Yeah.
So it was sunny. It was.
I think it was the Hatch Lane game.
I was thinking.
And I think it might have been, what's his name? You know, I think it was Pharrell. I remember saying to Pharrell at halftime that like, you're a very tricky player, but you can't take on 2-3 players, so stop doing that. So just move the ball.
And literally, I'm thinking, okay, yeah. I think most men are quite visual, and I as I said before, pretty simple, and just tell us like certain things visually, and then we'll try and execute. But again, it does come down to respect, and again, I think if any coach or manager gives us an inch, we'll flipping take off.
Yeah.
People take liberties.
Yeah.
But I think it's about trust in terms of the information. It's like if I tell you to do something and it's wrong, it's not on you, it's on me. Yeah. I've always said that, it's not on you. So alleviate yourself of the responsibility. If I've told you to do something and I've got it wrong, it's my fault, it's not your fault. I'm not going to sit there and blame you and say, oh, well, you didn't. I told you to do that. Do you know what I mean? And then you haven't done, and then you've done it and I've got it wrong. So it's no longer the player's fault. If we lose because of that, it's on me. It's no one else's fault. So I think I've even had like women in training, let's say like when I was at Dulwich, I remember a player trying to do this 40-yard Hollywood pass, and she's getting it wrong every time. I've started to stop the training and listen, what pass can you see? Oh, I can see the one over there to the winger. Do you reckon you've got that in your locker, yeah? And she's like, yeah, do it. Let me see you do it. No, there's no opposition. No, it's unopposed. Let me just see the distance that you can get. The winger, stay there. Do it. She's hitting 20 yards. Do you know what I mean? Maybe. And I'm saying to her, it's calm. I can't hit a ball 40 yards. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with it. Just know your range and know your distance. That's not it. So get the ball on the floor and play around. But when I'm asking her, let me see if you can do it. Go on then. If she can't, then all you've done really is you've told yourself in your mind that you can do something that I've watched you not do 4 times. So sometimes you just got to call players out for what it is. Do you know what I mean? The facts are telling me that you can't do that. I'm not gonna bash you for the fact that you can't do it. It's just that that's your range. Until she comes in 15 yards, then you can hit her. If she doesn't, you're gonna have to play around in order for us to cover that 40-yard distance that you think you can reach. But I think sometimes players are just unrealistic with what they believe that they can do, and we're all guilty of it. Do you know what I mean? All of us are guilty of it. I've probably got to maybe like 27, 28 when I was playing, thinking, yeah, I've still got that 17-year-old in the locker, and I don't.
I do that now.
Me too.
At 39.
And yeah, you're like, your body is slowing down and doing things that you couldn't do anymore. So maybe there was once upon a time when you could do that 40-yard pass, but now you can't. And I think men have got to really and truly see sometimes what you're trying to do isn't working. I'm going to give you the rationale. Do you remember the game when Geordie kept hitting the near post?
Oh, yeah.
And Leon kept saying, oh, he's hitting the near post. I can hear the players saying, the crosses are rubbish, they're not getting past the near post. Leon's like, but Geordie's going to cross it and he's going to get to the near post. So what are we going to do? And Leon was like, they're not bad crosses. Someone's going to get to the near post. I then thought, all right, let me get creative here. If Geordie can get to the near post and someone can get to the near post, all they've then got to do is flick it onto someone behind you and then we can tap it in. And that is exactly how he went on and scored. Yeah. I think you scored it, didn't you?
I think I did, yeah. When at the Lambeth game.
Yeah.
When at the one that went across, I come in at back post.
Yeah. Now, if I've told him to do that and he tries it 5 times, it doesn't work, or he tries it 2-3 times, and then Hubs comes to me, Sean, you've told me to stay here, to wait for this cutback, and I'm doing it, and it's not working. Yeah, it's my fault.
Because I remember how it happened. I think he crossed it, and if I'm correct, someone run across. He didn't touch it. He actually just run across, and what happened was,
block the keeper's view, which is what I said.
The defender missed it. It went straight past him, and I came at the back post and I
tapped it in, which is what I said was going to happen.
And that's exactly and we all turned around and was like, Sean's right. Because it was literally not long after we spoke about it.
Maybe 10 minutes max.
Yeah, it was like not long. We had the conversation about it and we was like, all right, cool. Someone make a run across post. Chan made the run. I was like, all right, let me just make the back post, because if it does fall to me, I've got no one on me. So I just crept in. It literally just fell to me. I was like, bang, there you go, goal. And that's how I got most of my goals, arriving late, and we scored.
Yeah.
Like that. So, yeah, man, that's the thing. That's the information that's key in, being in that environment and listening. But some people choose not to. Some people do choose to.
I think you just need a level of buy-in from the players. Yeah. You've got a level of buy-in.
And I think one thing, we already bought into what Sace and that already offered. So because we was already bought into them, the luck we had was that we brought yourself in, and we automatically bought into that, because we were like, they're not going to bring someone in that ain't going to be good enough, if that makes sense. So we already bought into Sean coming, because it's like, they're not going to bring someone in that's not great. So we already know there's going to be quality information coming. So everyone was already focused. And you can already see the development that we made as a group, that the information coming from Leon, Sace and Sean was very good as a collective, that we just ended up flourishing. So it was a good...
I think there's a bit of like knowledge, bit of execution. And I also think from a woman's perspective, like if I was to tell another woman about going into the men's game, like you have to carry yourself properly and confidently, because I think that the decisions that you make if you're going to work in men's football are so key, because you make one wrong turn and you'll lose respect of every single man that you're about to walk into. So you have to be very mindful about how you carry yourself, and that could be very like intricate details. That could be like things like it sounds tactical. It probably was a bit tactical, but like I always used to come to the wall looking rough. Always. always used to come looking rough. They're not going to know that. Do you know what I mean? But like my hair was never done. Half the time I'm looking rough basically because you as a woman and you don't, I wouldn't advise for you to present like trophy wise. Like don't present like you're coming here looking man basically. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how you'll be looked at. If I come with a face full of makeup, hair done every week, do you know what I mean? It looks like tight shorts.
How can you take that serious? Yeah.
You can't, you're going to look at that woman in a certain way. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I've come to coach and that's it. I've not come for anything else. I've come here to coach and leave. So if my hair is looking a mess, I'm not looking none of these lots. I don't care.
And no one even thought about that anyway. You know what I mean? Because everyone was. I think the one thing we had was we just had to play. We wanted to win. You know what I mean? So no one looked at. Everyone knew we come get a job done and go.
Yeah, but all of that stuff is all subtle. It's all like. From a woman's perspective,
I imagine it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does. It makes a big difference. That like I need to be seen as a coach, and that is it. Don't look at me in any other perspective. Don't go on all the nights out. Go on like 2 of them. Do you know what I mean? I'm not coming out to every single one of every event and doing the most and flinging out to Bashman every time.
but that's what like, you get that sometimes in like in the men's get like. Certain physios.
Yeah.
Or, like, maybe they don't present. They're not coming in to present themselves in that sort of way. But like you just said, they're going to every night out. They're showing up in certain things or certain attire. So you're just like.
Now you're not just the physio. You're not just the coach. Now you're my man's team, or you can't. And you're getting in, and then what it is as well. And this is not a dig at women in general, but I think if you're going into a men's environment and you put show yourself in a certain light, you're going to get a certain comments and certain actions towards you, and then you can't now complain because you're now putting that out there. Do you get what I mean? Like if you're going out with them on every night out or every team night out and you're acting a certain way, but then you get certain comments after, you can't complain. There's no way that I can come out on like consistent nights out with the players, let's say, be doing mad things and then be telling these men about accountability on a Sunday.
And then everyone's like, oh,
but you was just
on Saturday.
You was doing a madness the other night.
So, but yeah, no, it's true, and again, that's the challenges that females face, especially being in a men's environment. Is you have to take yourself out of that comfort zone of being a certain way and adjusting yourself. People say like when I talk sometimes, obviously I have a work voice and I have mine.
Your Peckham ends voice.
But again, it's like females will have to have a coaching voice, and a coaching persona. And when you're at home, you have your own persona, and you have to do that sometimes. And people tell me, "No, just be yourself," but sometimes you can't because you want to gain that respect from everybody.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You have to adapt it.
Yeah,
and it sounds really strange, but that's just how it is.
That's how it is.
And that's how it is, especially in a man's environment. It's a bit different because a man going to a female's environment as a coaching, you can be yourself because you have got to adjust.
Yeah, you probably just got to be a bit soft.
Yeah, you maybe your approach could be slightly different, but in your personality, in your persona, and the way you approach yourself in certain environments, you haven't got to change. Where with a female, you have to.
You do, because
of how people will perceive you, and you don't want to be perceived as that lady or that woman that acts a certain way. You need, like you said, you need to be seen.
You need to present well. Yeah, you do.
I need to know that I can go to war and Sean's going to give me the good information because I see her as my coach. Do you get what I mean? And that's why I wanted to ask that question of being in a man's environment. How did you feel? And then like you thrived, man. Like me personally, and I know if I can speak for anyone, like all the boys, having you as our coach was excellent. It was a great experience. Like I didn't enjoy football for a while. Being at the wall, having yourself, like Sace and all that, they made me enjoy football again because you had great group of people, great coaches, and the environment was just what you needed. You know what I mean? You turned up, you knew what you were going to get, and it was enjoyable. I started enjoying football again, and I didn't enjoy football for a long time. So it was good, man. So it was a pleasure working with you, man. It was excellent.
Cheers.
I've got about 3 questions. I've got a few. If that's all right.
So conscious of time, but yeah.
My first question: what's your most unpopular opinion about Sunday League football?
Unpopular opinion?
Yeah.
about Sunday league football. Probably my most unpopular opinion will be let the Saturdays players play. Let the Saturday players play.
Enjoying it.
Yeah, let them enjoy. That's probably my unpopular opinion because every single Saturday manager would hate me for saying that. But
I agree. I think they should be able to, man.
let them enjoy them. As long as they can manage their body, let them enjoy
And I
themselves.
think they take this contract stuff too literal.
Too seriously, yeah.
Oh, your contract, you can't play. I'll pay you this. But at the end of the day, I've done my job on the Saturday.
They just leave them alone. Just leave them alone. Yeah.
Let them live, man.
That's probably my quick fire unpopular opinion. Yeah.
All right. The Wall, the Grand,
Yeah.
SC Dons,
Yeah.
Lambeth.
Yeah.
Rank them in style of play. First being the best.
In style of play. Are we going for all of these teams when they're at their best?
Yes.
Style of play. I think when they're all at their best, I think Lambeth are probably up there.
Yeah, 100%.
I think Lambeth have got to go first.
They're a good team, man.
And then I would say at their best as well, Grand. And then I would say the Wall. And then I would say SE Dons. I think Lambeth had it all at one point in terms of their style of football, their creativity, they had it all basically. Grand at their best arguably were the same in terms of they could play very good football, very like Grand at their best. Their forward players were like a joke.
Yeah, good players.
Yeah, like you're not.
There were problems.
It was a joke. Razak, AC, Trey.
Yeah, they were.
It was ridiculous. Cadell. Oh, it's a joke.
When you get into a game, you just knew. If you
this is a myth,
If you
basically.
weren't on it, they will punish you.
Yeah, they're gonna punish you. I'm going with the Wall third because I think the Wall at their best. I don't think no one's matching the Wall's work rate. No one's like going up against the Wall on their best day. That's a hard day in the office. That's a hard day. And I think fourth, I'd say SC Dons knew how to use their strengths at like that they had basically. But when I actually deeped, SC Dons have a lot of long ball. Yeah, but they just had really good wingers.
They knew how to win games.
Yeah, they knew, and they had the best camaraderie.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Out of everyone, yeah, they got the best camaraderie. They will beat you by 2 goals in the 92nd and 94th minute.
Yeah. Because they just had that cohesion. They knew what they just had that team spirit.
Yeah, their togetherness is crazy.
And that's one thing I rate them for. Like the way they can draw you in. I've seen people go there that have not been there or don't know them as much, and then they just buy into what they.
Yeah.
That just shows you the camaraderie they had.
Yeah, they do. They had. So I'd probably rank them in that order.
Okay. And I'd love for you to define football greatness.
Football greatness. I think for me, football greatness is like a longevity. So I think you can have football greatness. If you've played 600 National League games, you might not have been a pro, but you've had football greatness. I think if you've gone to pro level and you've experienced 400-500 games at pro level, you've had football greatness. I think being in the game is one thing. Staying in the game is another thing. I think you can sign a pro, but keeping a pro is probably harder than signing one. So I think if you've had, at the end of the day, you're a football great if you've been in the game 15 years or 20 years or whatever of just playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and playing. You've achieved.
Yeah, I agree.
You've achieved football greatness. I think, longevity.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I would have answered it as in like, if you're having longevity and you've played, to the level that you feel within yourself is good enough, and you've enjoyed it, I think I'd take that.
You've had football greatness.
I'll take that as football greatness because then I know that I've given all I can to the game.
Cool.
Yeah.
Happy.
And that's it, man. That's a wrap. Sean, honestly, man,
Thank you so much.
Pleasure,
No
man. Thank you for
worries.
popping in, man.
That's okay. Thank you.
No, man, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we can, I don't know, we'll work something out, try and get you on again, maybe with some other guests.
No
We
problem.
can have another chat and stuff, and then, you know, hopefully see how your journey carries on and that.
Yeah, AFC Croydon now, so that's the new project. Yeah.
That's decent, man.
That's the new project, yeah. So
How's that
we'll
going,
see.
alright?
It's going really well. The women's side are currently unbeaten.
Yeah.
We got promotion in our first year, and then now we've been promoted, and then now we're unbeaten in the league again. So we're on for back-to-back promotions. That's the women's side, and then the academy, the youth section. That's a tough gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like starting a new club. But I'm learning a lot. Like as a like director role, it's a new lens basically. I'm doing like marketing, sponsorship, equipment, kit, like designing, recruitment of kids, recruitment of coaches, CPDs for coaches. It's doing a lot. But then I'm also like leveling up basically. So in the last like month, I've done the level 1 in talent ID, the level 1 futsal, the national goalkeeping course. Now I'm going again for the B license. I've just applied for my goalkeeping B license. So like I'm just doing. So because of the lens I've got now, basically now it's also forcing me to like get better.
Yeah, upgrade yourself.
Yeah, upgrade myself. Yeah, which is good. So maybe one day I'll be indispensable.
No, that's brilliant. No, but listen, like the saying goes, it more strings to your bow, man. Like then people like you able to have more experiences. You know, you're able to see the game a lot different than just having, like you say, one tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Of like, I played, or I'm a coach, and I just got to look at it in this aspect where you can actually look at it as a whole bigger horizon now.
Yeah.
Goalkeeping, you know, scouting.
Mm.
I've done my talent ID as well.
Yeah.
Number 1, I'm trying to get onto my 2, stuff like that, because I also want to go out and
Yeah.
experience watching games, you know, and picking up players and stuff like that. So that's something that I look at, because again, maybe the same with you. I want to be in the game. I want to be involved in some sort of aspect. You know, if I'm involved in an academy or, you know, in a club, but I want to be involved in football. If I can be involved in football in some aspects, and that's like my job.
I just don't like to be in conversations that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what it comes down to. I don't like when you're sitting at a top level in a club, basically. I don't want to be talking with scouts or a head of recruitment, let's say, and I've got no idea
what's going on.
like what is going on in this room. Do you know what I mean? I don't like speaking from uneducated places. I don't like talking about goalkeepers and I don't know what I'm talking about. Or, you know, people say, oh, well, he shouldn't have been beaten at his near post. Okay, but you're not a goalkeeper, so you don't actually know, do you know what I mean, whether he should or shouldn't have been beaten at the near post or not. So being on a goalkeeper course allows me to be confident enough to sit down in conversations and either agree, disagree, challenge the thinking or whatever. But now I'm coming from an educated place rather than speaking blind, basically. Yeah, so I just prefer to know what I'm talking about, because there's just too much people in football that just chat rubbish. So I'm just not trying to be that person. So
just live your life.
Love it.
But yeah, man. So guys, it's been me, Chris, as people say, aka the Wizard, Hubbard, Tabrice.
The best centre back in the universe.
I didn't say that. I let him say that. Oh, he's lucky I didn't wear my Holland shirt. Because I wear my Holland tracksuit, but leave that there. And obviously, again, thank you for coming in, Sean, man.
No worries.
Absolute pleasure, man. Right, guys, laters.
Thank you.